What is going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. So Rayleigh Gaban, I haven't really had much of an opportunity to go ahead and actually use them in normal content. Obviously, since they've been out, I've been using them a bunch in Pirate Rumble, using them on Int teams, using them on Striker teams, and I definitely agree that this character is going to be probably a meta-defining unit in Rumble, just because not only do they have such a very good special, but then that Rumble ability, being able to auto-launch their special again, it's just way too good. However, you know, we need to have that discussion about, like, what is this character doing in normal content? Is this character going to be a unit that actually sees active play? So let's go ahead and do a deep dive on this unit and see what we're doing here. Now, the whole goal of this video, now, look, you can definitely build a way more optimal team to clear the Revolutionary Army number 2 with Rayleigh Gaban as your captain. I do not doubt that. What the goal of was for my team build is I wanted to go ahead and use Douglas Bullet. I wanted to use this combination. I love the fact that with the EX Super of Rayleigh Gaban, they actually give representation for Douglas Bullet. So Douglas Bullet is one of the units that will actually trigger the EX Super. You do need 2 of the units listed on the character, ranging from, you know, Ace, Shanks, Buggy, Newgate, Odin, Toki also counts, which is fantastic. But also, like, Douglas Bullet being on here is so crazy because, like, we know that Douglas Bullet used to be on the Roger Pirates. It was mentioned during One Piece Film Stampede, but the fact that they've actually gone ahead and put it on this character is just wild, because they haven't done it with any other Roger beforehand, which is just crazy to think about, right? So the fact that they do that is just really cool. On top of the fact that that EX Super also changes characters that are fighter into slasher class, which works perfectly for Bullet because he is a fighter character. So being able to transform Bullet into a slasher to get the full benefits is really cool. Another reason why this combination works so well is because of the fact that Roger in his captain effect gives you the enhanced color affinity. So after you use the special and you get the excellent action special, then for 3 turns you get the enhanced color affinity within the captain effect. And then of course that works very well with Douglas Bullet, because as a captain he is super effective against all types at all times, meaning that any additional color affinity boost that you have is going to amplify Bullet's damage. Now, it is a bit unfortunate that, you know, Bullet is as old as what he is, because his captain effect obviously doesn't really compare to a lot of the other units in the game, but being able to hybrid up Douglas Bullet, an old legend, with a more modern legend with a more modern captain effect is still really nice. Now, the only real issue that I have with this combination is the fact that utility in this team is relatively lacking, because Bullet doesn't necessarily give you utility, and then the utility in the captain of Rayleigh Gaban is also relatively limited. Of course, they have the ability to set enemies' damage threshold to 0, which is a neat effect for sure, but, like, it's not going to help you get around, like, Bind, Despair, Paralysis, Reverse, or anything like that. And then, of course, you have the added, I guess, caveat with Rayleigh Gaban's captain effect, in the fact that they don't have their own way to remove Special Bind on themselves, which is just utterly ridiculous. I don't know whose design decision that was, but the fact that Rayleigh Gaban as a crewmate and with their special remove Special Bind, but they don't do it as a captain. Their EX Super doesn't even remove their own Special Bind. Like, I don't even know what they were thinking. I feel like that's a massive oversight, because it only really works if, you know, if you use them as a captain, and then your captain is like the only unit that doesn't get Special Binded. Then you can use their special to remove Special Bind. Just crazy. I don't understand what the hell they were thinking there. But either way, Rayleigh Gaban with their special, on top of removing that Special Bind, they give you the Int type territory, which I think at this point in time, it's kind of just like a whatever ability. I mean, yes, if you run a couple of Int characters, you're going to get additional damage, which is pretty neat. The actual territory effect does last for 3 turns, so that's nice that you can get that additional damage and damage reduction. He also provides you with that 2.75 times color affinity boost to Slasher and Striker. Of course, Bullet won't be able to abuse that effect, unless if you hit excellent with your action special, and then also, you know, obviously because then the captain effect will also be buffed even further, but then you also need to transform Bullet into a slasher or a striker to actually make that actually work, which is just really annoying, but, you know, it is what it is. And then, of course, you get the ability to get the enhanced chain boost, a 2.5 times chain multiplicative buff, which as it stands right now, I believe is the highest chain multiplicative buff in the game. That also lasts for 2 turns, which can be extended to 3 turns with his captain effect. And then if you have 6 or more slashers or 6 or more strikers, you get the advantageous class effect, which isn't really going to play a part in most normal content, potentially in future like PKAs or future treasure maps, but mainly that's going to see play in like a Kizuna Clash sense, right? And then, of course, there's another effect in the special as well, which is really odd, where if the enemy is a Logia, Paramecia, Zoan, Mythical Zoan, or an Ancient Zoan, you get the 0.25 increase to the color affinity within his own special and the advantageous class effect. So again, I feel like that effect is kind of whatever. You know, if you get it, that's cool, you'll get more damage, but obviously it's not the end of the world if you don't get it either. I do also kind of love the Super Tandem ability of Rayleigh Gaban, because it's relatively easily to activate, and also it can be activated on any stage. It's not one of the super tandems that can only be triggered on the final stage. So being able to generate tandem slots, and then also being able to get that multiple different times throughout the quest is relatively strong. And also the fact that at level 1, the super tandem ability already gives you a 1.75 times attack boost, which is pretty substantial, all things considered, at level 1. Of course, if you get it all the way to level 5, which is kind of crazy, but if you do, it becomes a 3 times attack boost, which is pretty absurd for a super tandem ability. And also the condition changes where you only need to tap with 3 total characters, whereas as it stands right now at level 1, you need to tap with 4 characters in order to trigger the super tandem ability. On this team, we are using Rocks Pirates too, which is enabling us to get the super tandem boost from them, which will give us further damage to some of our characters on our team, which is dope. And then as for the other characters on this squad, we're using like the Int Luffy and the Shanks just for some utility sense, and we are using Toki. Toki is just a phenomenal character. I absolutely love Toki and her abilities, and the fact that Toki is also a slasher, which works perfectly with Rayleigh and Gaban. Really nice combination there between all of these characters. And then of course Rocks Pirates with their special is absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, Douglas Bullet, this combination with him I think is really cool. It really comes down to the fact that, you know, when you do activate all these specials, you do need to make sure that on your major burst turns, that's when you want to go ahead and use the EX Super of Rayleigh Gaban, because that is the point in time where Douglas Bullet will become a slasher character, which means that all of the other effects on your crew will actually become active. So you just have to keep in mind with all of that. But anyways, that is pretty much going to wrap it up for me. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I do think that Rayleigh Gaban, they're a really interesting legend, but comparing some of the other 11th anniversary characters that we've had throughout the celebration, I definitely prefer a lot of other units over Rayleigh Gaban in this celebration, but you know, it is what it is. Hopefully you enjoyed this video though, and if you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. And that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.
次は貴様らだ。